Either you run the day or the day runs you. Namaskar, welcome to Next IS. In this video, we will cover major headlines of the Hindu, Indian Express, and Press Information Bureau. So, without wasting any time, let's start today's discussion. Now, recently, 50th anniversary of the expanded program on immunization was observed. It was launched by the World Health Organization in 1974 to ensure equitable access to life-saving vaccines for every child. Initially, it focused on protecting all children against 6 childhood illnesses, including tuberculosis, diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, polio, and measles. But today, the number has grown to 13. Now, it aims to safeguard individuals of all ages through comprehensive immunization efforts, and India launched expanded program on immunization in 1978, which was later renamed as Universal Immunization Program in 1985. Next article talks about Street Vendors Act, which came into effect on May 2014, and it was aimed to protect the right of urban street vendors and to regulate street vending activities. It was a progressive legislation, but now it faces numerous challenges in its implementation, such as impact of climate change on street vendors, a surge in number of vendors, competition from e-commerce, and reduced incomes. There have been a noticeable increase in harassment of street vendors, and in conclusion, we can say the act is progressive and detailed, and its implementation requires support, possibly necessitating top-down direction and management starting from Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Talking about the importance of street vendors, they are estimated to constitute 2.5% of any city's population, and they play multifaceted roles in city life. Now, recently, Supreme Court constituted a 9-judge bench to interpret director principles of state policy with respect to ownership and control of material resources. Talking about the constitutional provisions, preamble to Constitution aims to secure to all citizens social and economic justice, liberty and equality. Part 3 of the Constitution lists down fundamental rights that guarantee liberty and equality, while Part 4 contains DPSP. These are principles that central and state government should follow to achieve social and economic justice in our country. Unlike fundamental rights in Part 3, DPSP is not enforceable in court, and Article 39 subclause B and C in Part 4 contains principles that are aimed at securing economic justice. They provide that ownership and control of material resources of the society should be distributed to serve the common good. And do you know, friends, in 1978, 44th Amendment Act omitted the right to property as fundamental right and made it constitutional right under Article 300A. Supreme Court in various cases has interpreted the relationship between fundamental rights and DPSP. For example, in Golaknath case 1967, Supreme Court held that fundamental rights cannot be abridged to implement DPSP, and in Keshav Nanda Bharti case 1973, Supreme Court held the validity of Article 31C but made it subject to judicial review, and in Minerva Mills case 1980, the Supreme Court ruled that Constitution exists on a harmonious balance between fundamental rights and DPSP. Next article focuses upon thrombocytopenia syndrome, which is characterized by blood clots combined with low levels of platelets, which are necessary for blood clotting. It often involves unusual blood clot locations, such as in the brain or abdomen. And it is in the news because recently UK pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca has acknowledged the potential of its COVID-19 vaccine to cause thrombocytopenia syndrome. Now recently Indonesia's Ruang volcano erupted again. It is among about 130 active volcanoes in Indonesia. And do you know, friends, Indonesia is prone to volcanic eruptions and earthquake because of its location on the Pacific Ring of Fire. Next article talks about mumps, which is caused by paramyxovirus, a member of the rubella virus family. It usually affects the parotid glands, which make saliva, and this disease spreads through infected saliva. Its symptoms include swollen painful salivary glands, sore throat, fever, headache, fatigue, and appetite loss. Above normal rainfall is predicted in most of the South Asian countries during the upcoming monsoon season, and most of Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, and central Bhutan will receive normal and above rainfall. Now recently, Bombay High Court has held that public sector banks cannot recommend or request the issuance of lookout circulars against loan defaulters, and it has set aside provisions of the central government's office memoranda that empowered public sector banks to do so. Lookout circulars were issued by the Bureau of Immigration of the Ministry of Home Affairs, and allowed authorities at any port of departure to prevent a debtor to a PSB from leaving India. In September 2018, a ground was introduced to issue and lookout circulars to restrain a person from going abroad if their departure was detrimental to the economic interest of the country. Later, the new clause was introduced empowering chairperson of State Bank of India and the managing director and chief executive officers of all other PSBs to request immigration authorities to issue lookout circulars against default borrowers. And do you know, friends, the default borrowers included not only the borrowers but also the guarantors for repayment of loans and the principal officers or directors of corporate entities in debt. Now, recently, Regional Economic Outlook for Asia and Pacific released by International Monetary Fund, and according to it, public investment remains an important driver for India, making it the world's fastest growing major economy. And according to IMF, headline inflation may see further reductions due to lower energy prices in several economies in Asia and Pacific region, but food prices pressures, especially for rice, may slow headline disinflation in India. Now, recently, NHPC Limited, which is the largest organization for hydropower development in India, has signed memorandum of understanding with Norwegian company operating as a technology provider to the floating solar industry. And as per the agreement, they will explore key areas of cooperation for demonstration of Ocean Sun's floating solar energy technology based on photovoltaic panels, and these panels would be mounted on hydroelastic membranes at relevant sites to be identified by NHPC. So with this, let's conclude our today's discussion. Thanks for listening, and for regular updates, you can follow us on various social media platforms.